Today we will be discussing isolated wetlands. More specifically, we'll be going over the animals and plants that live in them, the work we do to improve these areas from the inside, and the prescribed fires that will continue to help them afterwards.
Isolated wetlands are absolutely essential for the survival of many animals, particularly species like the reticulated flatwood salamander, the duckweed firetail damselfly, the eastern pondhawk dragonfly, and the Florida bog frog. These ecosystems provide critical breeding grounds, food sources, and habitats. Without isolated wetlands, these animals would face severe declines or even extinction. Let's explore how vital these wetlands are for each of these species. The reticulated flatwood salamander, native to the southeastern United States, relies entirely on ephemeral wetlands for its life cycle. These amphibians breed in temporary pools that lack fish, which is crucial because fish would prey on their eggs and larvae. During the rainy season, the salamanders lay their eggs in these wetlands, where the larvae develop until they're ready to move to nearby uplands. For the duckweed firetail damselfly, wetlands are both a nursery and a pantry. These delicate insects lay their eggs on aquatic plants like duckweed, which thrives in the shallow, still waters of swamps and bogs. Their larvae, or nymphs, live underwater, feeding on tiny invertebrates abundant in these habitats. Once they emerge as adults, the damselflies continue to hunt near the wetlands, taking advantage of the rich insect life. The eastern pondhawk dragonfly, a fierce predator common in the eastern United States, also depends on wetlands. Females lay their eggs in these waters, where the nymphs grow, feeding on small aquatic organisms. As adults, eastern pondhawks patrol the air, hunting other insects and helping regulate the ecosystem. The wetlands serve as both their reproductive base and hunting territory. And the Florida bog frog. This species is entirely dependent on shallow, acidic, ephemeral wetlands and seepage bogs found within pine flatwoods. These temporary wetlands are critical for its survival, providing fish-free environments where its eggs and tadpoles can develop safely. The Florida bog frog breeds in these pools, feeds on small invertebrates, and uses dense vegetation such as pitcher plants and sedges for cover from predators. Its life cycle is tied to the wetlands. Adults breed there, tadpoles mature in the water, and juveniles stay near the edges. Wetlands aren't just nice to have. For these animals, they're non-negotiable. Lose the wetlands, and you lose these species along with the balance they bring to their ecosystems. Unfortunately, wetlands are under threat from development, agriculture, water mismanagement, invasive species, and climate change. Conservation and restoration, like restoring natural water flows, removing invasives, prescribed fire, and replanting native vegetation are essential to protect these habitats. By supporting these efforts and advocating for sustainable land use, we can ensure that wetlands remain vital havens and countless other species that depend on them.
An isolated wetland is a swamp-like habitat that is surrounded by land and separated from a larger body of water. Two common forms of isolated wetlands you'll see in Florida are dome swamps and shrub bogs. Dome swamps have large trees that create a canopy over the isolated wetland, while shrub bogs have little to no trees. The ones we work on are the dome swamps. The first step is to open up the surrounding area. We do this by using heavy machinery to go around the wetland and mulch up the outside of the area. It's important to remember that the terrain is soft, so you don't want to make any unnecessary movements with the equipment. Tearing up the ground will make it softer and more likely that you'll get the machine stuck. This will get rid of the encroaching vegetation and make it easier for us to go further inside and remove excess vegetation with chainsaws. When clearing out these areas, it's important to know which plants you don't want to remove. Bald cypress trees, which are given that name due to them losing their needles early in fall, are native to Florida swamps and offer protection and food to animals. The bottom resembles a pyramid, with the rest of the tree being smaller in diameter. As the tree grows taller, the bottom will grow wider. These trees also form what are called cypress knees, part of the root system that stick up out of the water. It's important to remember to be aware of these as you're walking around, because they're easy to trip over. The black gum trees are also native and produce sour berries that the wildlife can eat. The bark is dark, with oval-shaped leaves that are dark green in the summer and red in the fall, and have small white flowers. These trees are desirable, so it's important to be able to identify them when working in these areas. They are both fire resistant, but a catastrophic fire can destroy trees and turn what was once a dome swamp into a shrub bog. Any plants that are unnecessary take resources away from the plants we want to keep. The undesirable plants for these areas are most shrubs, which include swamp and black tie-tie, gallberry, and sweet pepper bush. One smaller plant you'll want to leave alone is the pitcher plant, a colorful and carnivorous plant. It's currently struggling due to habitat loss and people taking them. Make sure not to step on these as you walk around. The work done inside will go a long way towards making these isolated wetlands perfect homes for all its inhabitants.
Fire is one big step in maintaining isolated wetlands. It helps with alleviating woody/shrubby understory such as swamp and black tie-tie, gallberry, and myrtle holly. Fire also helps get rid of non-native and invasive species such as Japanese climbing fern, cattails, mimosa, popcorn trees. With fire rolling through a wetland, it helps promote grasses that thrive from fire and maintains them such as wiregrass, bluestem grass, muley grass, and many fern species. Fire also helps with animal habitat for Florida native amphibians, birds, and reptiles. Most isolated wetlands are to be burned on a 2 to 6 year basis and some on a 2 to 4 year basis, depending on how shrubby the understory is from the start of the restoration. Cypress trees that are in the wetlands are adapted to fire, and the heat from the fire promotes seeding. So when the fire is going through the wetland, it promotes fresh mineral soil for the seedlings to germinate and for a better chance for the seedlings to survive. Also, fire gets rid of competing trees and vegetation nearby that helps with future growth of the cypress tree. Fire in wetlands at different times of the year can be beneficial in different ways, and the names of the two different kinds are dormant season burns and growing season burns. But a growing season burn are good for controlling the woody/shrubby undergrowth plants. If the wetland was in bad shape and the woody plants had taken over, a growing season burn would be the way to go to make a big dent in getting all that underbrush out of the wetland. And dormant season burns are good for maintaining the underbrush/vegetation if the wetland has already went through other burns and has gotten to a nice natural state from prior restoration practices. So, in conclusion, fire has a huge impact on isolated wetlands in maintaining/restoring the habitat and helping the cypress trees against other woody plants that could be hindering the growth of cypress trees. Also, the benefit of helping native animals and plants to thrive in the wetland and to get rid of invasive species as well. So always remember, if you can exercise a practice in restoring a wetland, if you can, it will always be a great idea if you could. And also, fire is a huge help to bring them back to natural Florida.
That concludes our presentation on isolated wetlands and the restoration process. We hope this was informative, and you'll be able to use this knowledge to help the Florida ecosystem even further. Thanks for watching.